And we are live. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. My name is Jay Angel. The Let's Talk Fishing video podcast is brought to you by Grant Rods, Crusher Lures, and the American Bass Club. With me tonight, I have a man who has become a good friend of mine, and he's introduced me to a lot of good people right here in Louisiana. A man who lives in one of the coolest places I've ever seen in Louisiana. A man who never sleeps. A man who does absolutely everything. Sean Galoo Outdoors, Soft Plastic Company, Bassin in the Boot. He does his own online magazine. And now he's going to tell us about his latest endeavor. How are you doing tonight, Charles?
I'm doing great, Jay. Good to be with you, man.
Oh, yeah. It's great to have you on. You're a tough man to track down, but, all the best are.
Well, we try to stay busy down here.
You sure do. You sure do. So why don't you tell us about your newest endeavor?
Well, for several years now, Jeffrey and I have had Bassin in the Boot, which is an online presence and a digital magazine. Jeffrey's my brother. He lives up in Bossier, Shreveport area. And we had that going around, and it basically just was birthed out of the love of bass fishing and wanting to tell other people about, all the stuff that we have in our great state. And Louisiana is unique, and I don't have to tell you, but even our visitors and our viewers tonight, everyone that believes that Louisiana, we all have pet alligators, and we go to work in the airboats, and when we don't do airboats, we take a P-row, and we eat gumbo for breakfast and all that sort of stuff. But I think through a lot of national television, whether it's the History Channel and the Swamp People or any number of those different programs, we've been able to sell Louisiana to the nation and to the world. I mean, even our lieutenant governor, he does an awesome job out there with tourism and stuff. And I just think that Louisiana sells, and it's because of the uniqueness of the people, the culture that we live. We're very resilient people, whether we're talking about the hurricanes or the way of life, whether it's fishing for alligators or, I tell people all the time about different friends of mine, as long as there's water in a ditch, these guys around here, they are not going to go hungry. And so the people of Louisiana is just an awesome people to be around. It doesn't matter what part of the state you go in, whether you're up north in the hills, whether you're out west on the, the Texas line, whether you're out in Caddo Lake or down around Baton Rouge or heaven below. If you get down to heaven, down there below I-10, in God's country, and just a wonderful place to be, whether you're in the Bassin. But Jeffrey and I had this online magazine, Bassin in the Boot, and our goal and our mission was to basically promote Louisiana bass fishing companies or companies that are related to that industry. Everybody from rod builders like Doug Blacklock with Cajun Liam, Patrick Angeron with Tangy Fishing Rods, to bait manufacturers like myself or Zach Dubois with Cajun Lures. So our whole goal was to just promote Louisiana bass fishing businesses. And through a bunch of adventures, and I think I've told this story about 100 times, but I was down in Hayes, Louisiana, a good friend of mine, Larry Bro's tackle shop. And Larry's tackle shop is located in his wife's hair salon and actually behind the Crawfish Boil House, Duck Plucking U-Haul Rental Center right there in the center of Hayes, Louisiana. I promise you, it's like no other place on earth. And you'd be hard-pressed to find a tackle shop, hair care, U-Haul, Duck Plucking Boil House somewhere else on this planet, I believe. But I'm sitting there, and a friend of ours that we use for plastics was going out of business, and Jeffrey made the comment, "We'll find out what he wants for his stuff." And we didn't know anything about pouring plastic, so we tried to get into that. And our idea of going into business was to get to a point to where we could help other people, because we kept running into people who were in the same position we were. They had a great product, they had great friend support, but they really just didn't have the means of distribution or whatever it was to get on the shelf to get to that next level. I mean, we would talk to guys who were shooting baits in their garage. They were tying rods at the kitchen table, maybe tying jigs or pouring lead in their bedroom, just different things out in a shop out in the backyard or whatever. And here we are in Sportsman's Paradise, definitely the most wonderful bass fishing arena in the world. I'm located, there's about 45 lakes within an hour and 15 minutes of my house that I can put a bass boat in. So I'm up here by Lake Concordia, Lake St. John, Lake Bruin, False River, 4 or 5 different old rivers. We've got Bursley, we've got Catahoula. I mean, just anywhere we can put a boat, we got plenty of them in our area. And so bass fishing got to be a passion of ours. And we started with this we started with this magazine and covering it, and it's kind of grown. We've recently had the opportunity pairing with a company in Natchez, Mississippi, right across the river from Vidalia, pairing up with Mid-South Broadcasting and Jimmy Allgood. And you may know Jimmy from years and years. He was on he had a television show called Redneck Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Jimmy would go around the country doing just crazy things, but supporting veterans and children with disabilities, cancer patients, raising money for different things, whether it be a squirrel hunt or heck, they had a snake grabbing rodeo on one show, and just all kind of redneck adventures that. So we paired up a little bit with Jimmy Allgood and Mid-South Broadcasting. And what we've learned through that adventure is a lot of our people are reading magazines, but, you know, not as much as they can watch a video clip. And social media, I believe, has really changed the way we get information. You know, I can watch a 3-minute clip, whether it's on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook Reels, or whatever the case may be. I can watch 3 minutes and get just about as much out of that as I can read an article. Now, when my Bassmaster magazine comes in every month, I skim through it, look through it like everybody else does. But I think that video is definitely the way to go. And through our partnership with Jimmy Allgood and Mid-South Broadcasting, we've able to launch our next media project is going to be Go Bassin. And Geaux, just like right here in the good state of Louisiana, we spell it like my friends down there south of I-10. And we've launched Go Bassin. We've already completed the filming of the first episode.
There you go.
We centered the first episode around my Bassin in the Boot Big Bass Wednesdays. And so we had the opportunity to go film at one of those. And we were there at Lakeview Lodge on Lake Concordia, which is one of the most awesome places in our whole area. One of the best, most beautiful sunsets. I put last night on my Facebook page. I was coming in. I didn't have any fish. So what do you do when you don't have any fish? You take sunset pictures, you know.
Or pictures of your boat, yeah.
But so long story short, that's kind of what our next adventure is going to be, the Go Bassin television show. So we're excited. That's going to be on Amazon Fire and Roku. And then also it's going to be on our 2 local television stations. We've got Natchez.tv and Vidalia.tv. So those are going to be Roku, Amazon Fire, and streaming media. So we're excited to have that opportunity, Jay.
So I have one question. Well, I have a few questions about that. Are you going to make this bassing in Louisiana?
Well, one of the things we did with Bassin in the Boot, of course, with Louisiana being near and dear to our heart. I mean, even right now, I'm sitting in Monarca in Vidalia, Louisiana, at my fishing camp, actually. And if you can see in the background a little bit, I'll show this right here. That is the infamous Giles Island right over there. So, I mean, we're on a live oxbow right here in Vidalia, Louisiana. But if you're familiar with this area, then everyone knows about Giles Island and the monster bucks that are over there. And there's so much to cover in Louisiana. And that's what we were doing with Bassin in the Boot. However, when we ventured out with Go Bassin, we intentionally kept our roots to Louisiana with the Go and the insinuation of that Cajun heritage. But
Sure.
We want to be able to go outside the borders of Louisiana. So we're going to be fishing all over the Southeast, maybe hit some of those big lakes out in Texas, Oklahoma, you know, maybe even get up north to the upper end of the Mississippi River, or who knows, we want to be able to turn this into
Alabama, Tennessee. Man, there's just
You
not
bet.
enough. There's just not enough time.
You know, bass fishing is one of the fastest growing sports right now on earth. I think bass fishing, soccer, and those are 2 of the by far the fastest growing. And it's becoming, I don't know, I contribute almost to like the Tiger Woods effect. When I was in high school and all that, and Tiger Woods picked up a golf club, and there was so much media coverage, and he was so good, he made it look easy. And you'd sit in front of the TV and you'd watch him hit a ball a mile, and then he'd putt, and you know, he was shooting birdies and all this sort of stuff, and the eagle every now and then. And it just gave you the mentality, I can do that. You know, I can go out and swing a club, and I can do the same thing Tiger Woods is doing. Well, wrong. And I think so much of the media coverage, whether it's live tournaments, you got Bass Tracker, you've got all the MLF stuff that's out there, weighing fish, the live coverage. You've got so much coverage of bass fishing that it looks easy, you know, but it's not easy at all. And that was one thing I told our high school club. We're starting a high school club in our area. And that was one of the things I told them. I said, this is not like basketball where you're going to get a timeout at the end of every quarter. You know, when you're standing on the deck of a bass boat for 8, 9, 10 hours in the heat, in the cold, in the rain, in the sun, you know, there are no spectators out there to cheer you on. It's just you, a few fish, and God. And that makes a difference. That teaches some children, that's that perseverance. That's reaching a goal. Those are good character traits to build in our kids. But bass fishing it's provided that for me. It has become my passion. I love it. I wake up thinking about it. I go to sleep thinking about it. I watch videos. We're pouring plastic in the shop. I was out there this morning before work shooting plastic, and then I went to work. Of course, I'm a school principal. I go to work. I come home in the afternoons. I get back in the shop. Going to a high school football game tonight. Once it's over, I'll be back in the shop. But during that whole time, I'm watching bass fishing. I'm talking to people online, and it's just it's truly a passion of ours, and it has really grown. And some may even say it's changed my life because, like I said, we've started a few businesses. It's just a way of life for us now. Everything in my house pretty much revolves around my bass fishing and events like that. Just last weekend, we had the Bassin in the Boot Fall Brawl.
Sure.
And that's something unique and something that I hope grows. It's a bracket-style double elimination tournament. But to get there, we had to have a qualifier. So last week on Black River Lake, we had a qualifier where we had about 26 boats come out, and we narrowed it down to 16. And so we're excited about that. It's going to be October 1st and 2nd. And, of course, we'll have plenty of coverage on that on our Bassin in the Boot and other websites and social media. But that's also going to be featured in a couple of our Go Bassin episodes. So super excited about everything we got going on, Jay.
My goodness. Wow. I don't know what to say. You went over a lot of information there. I've only been up to fishing in your area one time.
Yes, sir.
And as you know, it was an off day. Man, I've been fishing since I was 4 years old, so I have 50 years of bass experience. I can't count the first couple of years, but anyways, man, that lake just looked like I fished all over the country. That lake got me excited. Piers, weed lines. Sorry, my dog's getting me distracted here.
Piers, Lake Concordia. Lake Concordia's got plenty. It's still got grass in the north end. It's got the reeds along the edge. You got cypress trees. You got docks. You got piers. And it's right now it's actually fishing pretty darn tough, but it can be quite a humbling experience to go over there. And like you and Cody, I believe y'all had a pretty humbling day. It wasn't the best of conditions and things. I think y'all just come right after maybe a front or a storm moved through or something. But nonetheless, don't let that deter you from coming back.
It will not. It will not. Just looking at that water, it's like, man, when I cast into a place that I know there are 7 pound plus bass, I get goosebumps. That's how much I love this.
That's sport. Right. And we've got so many places here. You got St. John, which is an oxbow. We fixed to have some boat traffic behind me here. I hear a boat coming up. Somebody's out there on the water looking for them. Most likely somebody that knows right where they're at, because I see he's moving pretty fast. In fact, if I had to bet the farm, I think that's Eddie Jester. It looks like his gray Skeeter there. So I'm pretty sure that was young Eddie. And it's amazing we recognize each other's boats and trucks more than we do each other's wives and children. But that's just, I guess, the way of life. But yeah, we have so many lakes up here, like Lake Concordia, Lake St. John, Lake Bruin. All of those are oxbows that, of course, used to be joined to the Mississippi River, and they've long gone been cut off. But full of those cypress trees. They're full of that, that lined grass on the edge and then submerged grass. So this is really an awesome area. And that's why the pros have been here twice in the last 4 or 5 years.
Sure have. What happened at Bussy Break was nothing short of incredible. 13.1 pounds.
Yes, sir. That was, they went up there and they fished there, and they fished Darbone, a couple other lakes up in North Louisiana. But again, that's just a testament to our state. And, I'm going to call some people out. I love using our platform for a positive, but you have things like the Sportsman's Coalition, who is trying to make sure that our waterways stay open, but also our Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Everybody from the governor's office down, we need to do a better job of promoting our natural water resources like these lakes and these streams and the Atchafalaya Basin, everything from Lake Caddo all the way down to Venice. From one end of the lake to the other, we just need to do a better job in our state. I know Billy Nungesser is big on tourism and things of that nature. And that is one of the things that we really, there's more than just Lake Toledo being in our state, there are so many places that you can go. These state parks, like I said, Mr. Billy Nungesser is big on our state parks and tourism, so I know he's behind it. When you go to not far from me, Lake Bruin, there's an excellent state park up there. Some of these other places like on Caney Lake and these different places where the state comes in. But to do a better job of management, not only in vegetation, but in fish management, I'd really, really, really like to see us jump on board. And our neighbor, Texas, does an amazing job with their lakes. And I mean, you can see that when the pros go over to their lakes and fish, not only the size and the quality of fish, but the healthiness of the fish, keeping down on vegetation that's far into those lakes. That's just something we've got to step up in Louisiana and take better care of. And hopefully we're going to get on the right page and do the right thing there. Like I said, from the governor down, that's really a call to action to take care of our natural resources, because if they're gone, they're gone. And right now, that's one of the most precious things we have in our state.
One of the things that is a positive here is guys like you, and I do it too to a smaller part, but I talk about the entire country. But we're showcasing what we have here in Louisiana. I talk about it. I fish with guys all over the country, just like you and Cody,
Yes, sir.
And I talk to them every night. If I'm not doing a podcast, just like you, I'm on the phone with 5, 6, 8 different people a night. And they're asking, so what's going on down there in Louisiana? You catching? Like, man, I've fallen in love with these redfish, or, the bass. I haven't caught any of the giant bass here, but the potential in Louisiana it's every bit as good as, my father used to live on the Harris Lake chain in Florida. And I got the same goosebumps casting into the Harris Lake chain, because I know there are 10-pounders in there, just like a lot of the places that I fish here. Like, I'm going to get up there and fish Buzzy Break next year.
Well, certainly.
I swear I am. I'm going to get up there and fish several of the places in your area, going for those 7 to 9 pounders.
Well, just this past year, we had a good friend of ours, one of the premier anglers in our area, John Bruce. This past fishing season, actually, with one of our clubs, we went over to a little place, Turkey Creek, which is one of them places you have to be going to go there. And you don't just happen up on Turkey Creek, but we were there fishing, and it's pretty much just a flooded cypress swamp. And John brought in one right at 10 pounds. I mean, so our lakes have the potential. It doesn't matter what lake you're on. I mean, a lot of the lakes in Louisiana, because they just have the perfect atmosphere for these bass to thrive. You never know when you're going to happen up on, an 8, 10, 11 pounder, whatever the case may be. Around here, we have a lot of solid 4 and 5 pound fish that come out of our various lakes pretty regular. We had a couple 9s and a 10, I think, last year come out of Concordia and St. John. So they're out there. I know Chad Wiley from over the Pineville, Alexandria area, he had one about 9 pounds come out of Concordia. Like I said, John had one out of Turkey Creek. Another gentleman had a 9 something come out of St. John. So, I mean, the fish are there. It's just a matter of, you got to get them to bite. But the opportunity, every time you get on the water, there's that opportunity to come back with a big bass, because this is really just, I mean, it's truly the sportsman's paradise. And like I said, we've got to take care and we got to preserve that, because I want it to be for my kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and generations to come. But it's just truly, this is heaven here. It's a little slice of heaven on earth.
One thing I like about Texas, they have the share lunker program.
Yes, sir.
Where if you catch a true giant over 10 pounds, DNR will come and get it, put it in their share lunker program, and harvest eggs. Then they're going to bring it back and put it back exactly where you caught it.
And I think we've got a few lakes here that are starting in that program. I know False River, I believe, has a replica program, and a couple other lakes in the state. I think Caddo does. And so we're really trying to preserve those big fish and those big fish genes, of course, because, big fish make big fish. And that's something to protect. Years ago, we just didn't know any better, I guess. And those fish ended up in live wells, and then they ended up in ice chest. And, now I think, especially the bass angler, a lot of people are, they have one opinion or another of bass fishermen and anglers and stuff. But one of the things I believe bass anglers do as well or better than any other group is actually that conservation piece. because we're truly about taking care of the fish, making sure that we stress them as little as possible, and then of course trying to release them live as often as possible. And so that's one of the things that is very near and dear to our hearts. I mean, all of our tournament directors in this area, especially, I know, and our bigger tournaments, when you go all over the state, I mean, they really try to stress releasing those fish live and in good shape. That way we can catch them again. It's that's what it's all about. It's just having that conservation mind to be mindful of what all is precious out there in the resources.
So you mentioned that you have a bait company called Shangaloo Outdoors.
Yes, sir.
So could somebody, guys, if you see the crawler down here, it says bassinandtheboot.com. I'm sure that if you go to bassinandtheboot.com, there's links to Shangaloo Outdoors, correct?
I guarantee there is. Shangaloo Outdoors is like you alluded to, it's primarily a bait plastic company. We offer bass plastics. We actually offer the crappie, white perch, sockeye plastics as well, but primarily because we operate in the bass fishing world, we concentrate on those bass plastics. Got a couple new baits that we've just released. The Shangaloo eel, in fact, is kind of our twist on a traditional bait. If you're familiar with the old Bassin eel, it's kind of a robo-style worm, and then on the end of it, it flattens out to almost a paddle tail, so to speak. So we've kind of revived that bait a little bit. We've got a couple links up on our Shangaloo group, shangaloo.com. It's on there. We've got our own chunk that we designed with Ultramolds in Ruston, another Louisiana company. So we try to stay very, as close to our roots, but definitely to buy local, small business is definitely a mission of ours. But Shangaloo Outdoors, like I said, it was kind of born out of the fact that we were wanting to start our own business to get to where we could help other small businesses, because Jeffrey and I realized very quickly we were not going to be able to help people, whether it was through advertising on Bassin in the Boot or whether it was through, getting them to the next level in retail or whatever the case, whatever their desires were, if we hadn't faced some of those obstacles and overcome them ourselves. And right now, Shangaloo Outdoors is just exploding in growth. We actually could be as big as we want to be right now. We're not necessarily throttling it down. We've become a regional distributor, so to speak. We are in about 10, 12, 15 places. We're in Natchez at the Sports Center in Natchez. We're here in Faraday at UPAC, Bryant's Marine, Lakeview Lodge. We're in Limits in Winsboro, Crickett's Hideaway in Gilbert, Simmons Sporting Good up in Bastrop, which is a huge sports center area for ours for hunting and fishing. Everyone in Louisiana has heard of Simmons Sporting Goods, no doubt. Mm-hmm. So we're really trying to grow it kind of regional, but also keep it under control to an extent that we don't want to disappoint anybody. When you order baits from us, I mean, when your order hits the internet, the page, I get the email. I mean, my goal is to get it in the mail the next day. I don't always meet that goal, but I'm going to try real hard to get that bait out as soon as possible, because we understand that, we may not get a second chance if we disappoint you in color, if we disappoint you. So we want to make sure that our people are 100% satisfied. We offer every color possible. If you can dream it up, we'll make it. We'll work with you on any custom colors. I have guys that, bass fishing, those guys, they can be a tough group to please, but we'll work with you to get your colors, whether it's something off the shelf. And we always tell people, if you put one in our hands, we'll 100% guarantee the match. Otherwise, if it's something you're just dreaming up, we'll work with you until we get it exactly how you want it. So we offer any of the standard colors. We have a lot of our own colors that we've come up with. But like I said, our guys, they know that they've come to expect that quality. And a little story I'll tell you, and of course, everyone, and it doesn't matter who you talk to, as far as, everyone's going to believe that their bait is top quality. And we're no different. We truly believe that we turn out a top quality product. But it really rang true with me when I had a gentleman tell me that he had fished all day long with one worm. He'd caught 9 fish, and the worm was still holding up, where his partner had basically the identical worm, but made in Zoom. And he'd gone to a few more, because Zoom, obviously, as a national brand, is that recognized brand. And not to throw them under the bus or anything like that, but a hand-injected bait, you're not going to have the thinness of the plastic. It's going to be a little more true, the thickness, that sort of stuff. The durability is going to be there. And we pride ourselves. I mean, if not only me and Jeffrey is shooting the baits, but, it's a family ordeal. My mom's actually in charge of most of our packaging. and she doesn't have a problem rejecting a bait. So if you get one that's less than perfect, let us know about it. We'll replace the whole bag, probably throw in a whole lot more. We just want to please everybody, turn out a top quality product. We also have tungsten. We have crankbaits. We've got our own version of the Whopper Plopper. We call it the Hodgepodge, which is actually named after one of our local anglers here, Jimmy Hodges, who is just become almost an adopted grandfather for me. He has taught me so much bass fishing. He's forgot more than most of us will ever know. He's been fishing for many, many years and won a lot of tournaments all the way back to when the World's Fair tournament was here back in 84, 83, 84, whenever that was. I remember the stories. But just a lot of good guys, and they've jumped on board. You know, our local anglers have supported Shongaloo Outdoors just immensely. I am so thankful. We've got guys who will take a shot on us, use a bait just because it's made here local. You know, that buy local, buy Louisiana it runs strong, and a lot of our guys support us. It's amazing the support you get from the local people, you know, not only local to right here around me or right around Jeffrey up there, but it's amazing the support you get from people all over the state because they're looking for a Louisiana-based product or at least one that's, you know, handmade, buy local, help a small business out. And we try to give back as much as we can as well. You know, we're always involved if it's a kid or, you know, a special tournament, a memorial tournament or, you know, fundraiser tournament, we're going to get involved and make a donation and try to help that out. For instance, we've got our casting for kids coming up in November. The first weekend in November, we do a big casting for kids. Shane Smith and Brendan Russell, Dennis Mulvihill, and that group in this area, they do a huge, about 100 boats down on Black River Lake. So that's something, if you guys are out and about, get involved in that. But Shongaloo Outdoors is always real active in helping to promote our tournaments, especially if it's for, you know, a special cause or special need.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So fishing around your area, I'm sure that you have some go-to or confidence presentation / lures. Would you like to give us a tip?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
Next question. No, definitely. Obviously, anything. We're on an oxbow. Primarily, a lot of our lakes around here are oxbows, whether they happen to be off the Mississippi and they're cut off. I'm actually setting at Monarca, Old River Vidalia right now. And that's actually a live oxbow that's still tied to the Mississippi. We've got a few of those in our area. This weekend, one of my clubs, Concordia, will actually be fishing Deer Park, which is a live oxbow down there off the Mississippi River. But we have live oxbows that are tied to the Red River, you know. We're still in the Black River, Tensas River. So we have a lot of fisheries in our area. And some of the go-to baits are going to be the same thing that anybody would fish anywhere where you've got the kind of water clarity that we have. You know, the lakes here tend to stay kind of a real pretty green tint most of the year. You will get a little algae from time to time, or you'll get some murky rain, you know, rain to stir them up a little bit. And but the staples that work here are, you know, I think about my go-to stuff, which doesn't necessarily mean it's the best bait in the box, but you know, when I'm on St. John, I like to throw some June bug red, maybe some green pumpkin green, stuff like that to get their attention. I've got my secret bait over there. I guess Patrick Angeron out of Tangy Fishing Rods, he gave me a secret on Lake St. John. I'll go ahead and let that out of the bag. But green pumpkin copper. So we take the typical green pumpkin color and then throw some copper flake in there, and that really that does well over at St. John. Concordia, bless our hearts, she's just mean sometimes. And, you know, it changes from day to day at Concordia. You may catch them on a green pumpkin today, and tomorrow it may be, who knows, bubblegum pink with yellow tails. But Concordia is a little tricky. I think primarily because it's hard to pattern fish on Concordia. The depth of it is just not so that fish move out and move in so much. They're really it's hard to pattern fish on Concordia. You really only have that one deep hole down there we call the Big Blue Hole. And so it's down there where you got some 40, 50-foot deep water, but most of Concordia is 10, 12 feet deep. So slightest little bit of weather, you know, these largemouth Florida strand, weather drops 3 or 4 degrees, they'll get lockjaw on you in a hurry. So, but so go through plastics there. Sir?
You know, that's pretty deep for a guy, you know, I started out my life in Louisiana down in Morgan City. And, you know, fishing the Lake Verret and the lower spillway where everything was 2 to 3 feet deep.
That's right. You fall out of the boat, you just stand up down there.
Yeah. Yeah, if the river mud doesn't get you, the
That's
snakes
right.
and the gators will. Um, but now I fish the Henderson, which is I'm targeting water 2 to 3 feet deep. So that's what I liked about Concordia. At the end of those when we were skipping underneath docks, it's 12, 15 feet deep under. Boy, I love it.
Well, again, Concordia is one of our more shallow lakes. As you go up
Wow.
to Bruin, Bruin's got some pretty good depth out in the middle of it. St. John's got some pretty good depth. You go on up the river. I think of we get all the way up to St. Joe. We've got Lake St. Joe in Newellton. It's very, very shallow throughout the whole lake. Kind of a lily pad lake. If you get there in early spring before those lily pads, there can be some monsters come out of there. We got Yucatan up that way, which is a live oxbow. It's tied to the Mississippi. That's around Newellton area. So a lot of our lakes are kind of oxbow based. We've got some runoff lakes and some things that almost like some just drainage stuff over around like Sicily Island. You've got Lovelace Lake, what we call Lake Louie. We've got, of course, over around Harrisonburg, between Harrisonburg and Jonesville, we got Bursley, which is one of our favorite places. Wallace Lake, that's an oxbow off the Ouachita River. So a whole lot of fisheries around here, but a lot of diversity in our fishing. Black River Lake last weekend, we had, like I said, our fall brawl down there. In Black River Lake, if you're looking for diversity in fishing, that complex down there is probably one of the most unique. It kind of reminds me of also the Saline Larto complex, where you've actually got bayous you can run. You've got a horseshoe lake down there, which is what we call Cocodrie Lake. You'll see on your map. It's actually referred to as Cocodrie, but we call it horseshoe, which is basically your typical oxbow with cypress trees and stuff you flip. But then you go over to Black River Lake and you got some 40, 50-foot deep holes over there that, floating docks and stuff like that. And so, I mean, it's really a big complex down there that spreads out and fishes real well. Usually leads itself to a variety of number of fishing, whether you want to beat the banks or if you want to go fish deep brush piles or pull, jigs off ledges or whatever it is. So we got a lot of fisheries around here, but if I just had to pick one bait, I love pitching and flipping, and I think I would, if it's crawfish season, I'd pick a crawfish. If not, I love a shaky head and a little worm or something to throw around a cypress tree. That's the way I plan on spending a good bit of my time in heaven, is just flipping the cypress trees up there.
Sure. I do like, I keep a shaky head,
That's right.
just right here. It makes me feel better.
And I was having a conversation just earlier. Carl Whittington out of Livonia called me. Garrett is one of our high school fishermen. He just graduated actually last spring, and I was talking to Mr. Carl about that new Shongaloo eel we got that's coming out. And before, when people were fishing the Bassin eel or whatever, it primarily was just a Texas rig and you throw it. But now with the emergence of shaky head and the Tokyo rigs and drop shots and all that, people are fishing finesse stuff in such a different style now. So I'm sure we'll see that eel used in a variety of different ways, whether it's on a drop shot, Carolina rigs, or whatever the case may be. And that's going to be a big bait for us. That's going to be a game changer, I believe, in a lot of areas when you have to downsize, when you're looking for that finesse bite, but also when you're looking for something that fish just haven't seen over and over and over again. I'm a firm believer these fish, they learn what we're throwing at them, and they get hooked so many times, and they start to figure out that's not something I want right there. And so hopefully
how long is the eel?
The eel's 4 1/4 inches long, and
Okay.
we're going to see how it goes. And if it goes real well, we'll come out with a little longer one. Working with a company on making it, uniquely ours. It's our spin on it. By far, not the original creators of a bait shape like this. Of course, we changed it to meet what we thought was going to be advantages as far as where we put the appendages and how we done the different breaks in the bait and the movement in the water and stuff. So this has been a bait that's been about 6-8 months into development, and working with designers, and my brother done a lot of the CAD drawing and things like that for it. But I'm super excited about it. And like I said, I think it's going to be a game changer for not only Shongaloo Outdoors, but for a lot of anglers.
Boy, 4.5 inches. That's like perfect for drop shot. And that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And I mean, it's
those cypress trees and just.
That's it. Just let it work and flutter. And I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he promised me not to make me promise not to share his secrets, but I mean, he showed me a variety of adjustments that he makes to the bait to make sure that it is unique and catches fish for him. And that's just super excited to have, the enthusiasm about it. I mean, we have had tremendous support just since we've gone on Facebook with it this week, and we've gone live with it. We put it on the website. Haven't actually got the official pictures loaded yet. We just kind of got some general cell phone pics loaded,
Sure.
but it's on there. It's up so the guys can get it ordered. And like I said, colors, any color you can dream up, we'll be able to put that out. We've sent it out to a lot of pro staff, so folks are fishing it and getting good reports back on it.
That's awesome. That is just wow. I'm glad I got to talk about that with you in one of the first weeks it's out. I love doing product launches. I know this wasn't a product launch because you have so many things we have to talk about, but in another way, it's kind of like a soft launch.
That's right.
So, man, that's why I brought that up about the yield. That looks like it's going to be. Well, also the boys up north are going to be using that for smallmouth.
I guarantee you they will. It's like I said, it's a unique bait, and a lot of people are stepping down and going to finesse baits now, especially when the bite gets a little tough. And this bait is tailor made for that, whether you're talking about a largemouth or a smallmouth bass. We're just excited to see how it may be used, to get it in the right hands. And who knows, somebody may come along, pick it up off the shelf and go win a big tournament with it, and it'd take off even more from there. We're super excited to have this bait. And of course, we've worked with a number of people. We have our own chunk design for jig trailers, working on a couple other baits that we have that Jeffrey's doing some CAD drawings on that we'll be releasing soon. Most of our molds are stock molds that we just bought and we're producing. Of course, we're producing a top quality product, and those stock molds are around because, they've been catching fish for a number of years. But we definitely, now that we've been in the business a little while and kind of understand, what people are looking for, we're definitely going to be launching more and more product line that is unique to Shongaloo Outdoors. Like I said, we've got several things in the making, and just having a good time with it. I mean, just enjoying our passion, enjoying bass fishing, enjoying the people in the industry. It's just it's an amazing journey.
I'm looking through your inventory right now because you said chunk. Now, when you say chunk, do you mean something that's like the old style chunks that came with
the old style chunk? Years ago they just put a piece of pork on the back, and
the pork rinds, yeah,
and it's pretty much the same shape, and so you just chunk it on the back of your jig there, and it just kind of flops around like, whether it's supposed to imitate some crawfish pincers or whatever the case it is, tails of something. But
I caught a lot of fish with those. But remember, you would put that in your tackle box, and it had its own little thing that you kind of clipped it in.
Oh yeah,
and it would rust everything.
And we're just trying to turn out a top quality product for good people, at an affordable price. And we may not be at a price match on the shelf, but I guarantee you we're gonna save you money over the long run because our baits are gonna last longer. They're gonna hold up. You're gonna get more fish on them. And we stand behind that. So we're very proud of the product we're turning out, and just hope everyone will give us a try. That's all we ask is because if you give us a shot, I think you'll be a customer, at least in some area, for good. I mean, that's what we're all about, is just earning people's trust. And Shongaloo Outdoors is there for you. So just give us we're not hard to reach. Most people have my cell phone number. I put it on Facebook. But all of our social media, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, we're trying to get out there as much as possible. And like I said, if you got questions or if you want to order something, if there's something unique, discuss a color, whatever it is, just hit us up and we'll be glad to try to get you what you want.
Well, you got all kinds of things in here for punching, like the Handsome Jack. Looks like something I'd really want to go punching through the
yes, sir.
with.
Yes, sir. That Handsome Jack is it's kind of a bait that has really been used in a multiple of ways. It's similar to a national brand, I guess, if you're familiar with the Menace. I think it's a Strike King Menace that it's similar to, but on the back of a jig. I've got guys who would Texas rig it. I've got one gentleman who orders in a certain color, and I won't throw him under a bus and let everybody know, but he hooks it on a Carolina rig. He'll order it with a little bit of float additive in it, and he hooks that on a Carolina rig, and he just wears them out at Caney Lake. So it's a unique little bait. Like I said, primarily I use it as a jig trailer, especially in the wintertime, because instead of splitting the tentacles or the flaps at the back, instead of splitting those, I'll leave them together. So it's got that subtle move to it. So, it's harder to get that fish. If he's going to eat in the wintertime, he's going to make it worth his while. So it'll move a little more water that way. But we've got the handsome jack. Of course, we got our Bassin bug, which is our beaver style bait. We've got the grunch, which is very similar to a couple different national brands, but it's a bug. The grunch is we named that after a folklore, kind of a werewolf, I don't know, monster type animal, human being mixture down in New Orleans. If you look up the grunch, it's actually got a pretty neat little history behind it as far as the folklore, and it's still Louisiana. All of our baits that have unique names are named for Louisiana stuff, just like the handsome jack comes from the Marie Laveau song. And
sure, yes.
But probably one of our favorites is the Louisiana rougarou. And so we've got a rougarou that is somewhere between a brush hog and a lizard. And that thing, it really moves some water. We usually fish it Texas rigged. And like I said, it really puts out some water. It's got a lot of tentacles, tails on it. Somewhere, like I said, between a brush hog and a lizard. But it's a dynamite little fish catcher. Especially, I find it to be most successful right after fish are coming off the bed.
Sure.
Just kind of Texas rig it, throw it up against those cypress trees and let it flutter down. Like I said, it moves a lot of water and entices that bite. So that's one of our best sellers, the rougarou.
The rougarou is going to get you.
That's right.
If you don't behave, yeah. Guys told me that the grandmas told them the rougarou lives right under my front porch.
Exactly. That's an old Louisiana folklore that is, it's in fact, it's kind of neat to when you go down south. Of course, that's a little more of a handed down, I guess, just folklore, oral history kind of thing. So you talk to kids down south in high school and stuff, and they know what a rougarou is. And you get up north Louisiana, it's not quite as much, but just the old Louisiana werewolf, kind of the bad guy in the woods, so to speak. And but just awesome to have, like I said, a Louisiana-based company. We love Louisiana. We just are so true to our people, our culture, everything that our state stands for. And so we're just super excited to be just a small ripple in the big pond of bass fishing.
Well, Charlie, it's been fantastic talking to you this evening. I'd just like to leave you with, do you have any shout outs you'd like to do? Any thank yous to any organizations, companies, individuals?
When you start thanking people, you definitely leave somebody out. So I don't want to call any names, but I just collectively would like to thank the people who have not only given us the opportunity to make a bait for them or cover them in the magazine with Bassin in the Boot, or to sit down and talk with us, or whatever the case may be, to keep that just to keep that culture of bass fishing active. I always tell people that probably the two truest American sports left now, I believe, would be bass fishing and rodeoing. Every event that you have with bass fishing and rodeo, you're going to have a prayer, you're going to have a national anthem, and you're just going to have those good American core values. And that's something that we're just proud to be a part of. Jeffrey and I are so excited to be, like I said, just a small ripple in the big pond of bass fishing. Bass fishing is a huge $60+ billion a year industry. And, I know that I'm never going to make a living fishing, but I'd like to make a living in the fishing industry.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful people. And so my shout outs would just be to the people like me and you, those weekend warriors, those guys trying to make it to go pro, those kids that are fishing on the high school and college circuits. I mean, just keep doing what you're doing, and be true to yourself, be true to the environment, and just stay core hard. I mean, you got to get out there and just fish and grind it out sometimes. And sometimes it gets to be tough, but it's a wonderful sport. It's a wonderful activity. It's a family atmosphere, and we're just proud to be a part of it.
Well, thank you very much, Charles. Stick around after the show. I'd like to talk to you for 2 minutes. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Let's Talk Fishing Video Podcast. Let's Talk Fishing Video Podcast, folks, is brought to you by Grant Rods, Crusher Lures, and the American Bass Club. You know what, guys? Get out there this weekend and have some fun on the water because you only get to do this once.